Okay, so pre and post show from, I was literally just looking at it. The 13th, right, because this was the week I had to do two different episodes because it was the cronyism week where I couldn't come up with a dog-based pun for that concept, for like the concept of cronyism. Though this is the one where I specifically saved the bit from the VOD where I went on a tangent about how the word goon has been taken from me, so I had to use crony and kind of lacked having another one. And there's nothing inherently wrong with goon having a different meaning, but I had a whole tangent specifically about how if you're using it, you have to use it properly because it's not just like jacking it. It's a very specific situation, and one that I talked about specifically as why it's a thing that especially toppy trans women can end up in a little bit more. Look, I was proud of this whole ridiculous thing, which is why I might make this into a chapter-based one. The only problem is I think I'd need like 3 other chapter markers for them to show up, just so you can find it easily. But yeah, there are some bloopers in this one, but they're sort of mixed in with the section in the center. Yeah. Have a good time with this. Like I said, this is from October 13th, so this was the week I had 2 episodes. So there will be another one that's just covering the episode where I was doing all the Chicago stuff. If there was a pre and post, I don't remember if I recorded a pre and post show for that one. We'll see. There will not be a significantly protracted pre-show for this episode because I am not doing visuals for stream. Quite frankly, they actually just take so much more time to do on stream, and I don't really feel like they add any significant benefit. Also, my lighting does not look the way I want it to, because my fucking program killed itself. Cool. And doesn't realize that it's broken. Awesome. I love having to deal with this every fucking... I'm in a piss poor mood, just to be clear, for a myriad of different reasons, not the least of which being I continue to make no fucking money doing this. And my life is stressful and would be significantly easier if I made any money. Where is you? Die. Camera's probably going to do something very weird, just a warning. Okay, any other programs doing something? What the fuck is... that explains some shit. I opened Microsoft Edge last night for fairly legitimate reasons, but also mildly annoying ones, and that means that it's still running a bunch of hateful background shit. Oh, good, and Adobe shit is running too. How? I thought I murdered all of those too. Awesome. Okay, so I have to stop that from happening. Hang on. Okay, there. I'm significantly less shiny now. Although my hair is legitimately pissing me off. Okay, hang on. Sorry, I have the Twitch stream open. It's doing weird shit. Okay. Okay. So, like I said, no visuals this time because they take so long to do, and I don't think they add a significant benefit for the stream experience when I could just actually be making them intentionally for the edited and recorded version. Also, quite frankly, this script is way too long, and it's still shorter than last week, and there's a bunch of stuff I didn't cover to the degree that I'm probably going to have to make a second video this week, because look, I go over it in the show itself, but when I was outlining my script, I realized that I needed to create an entire second and then third outlines for sections because there was just so much that happened this week. Like, the one that was just Chicago, which I don't have any of the Chicago news in this show, because when I was starting to break it down, I was realizing that there is this should be front page national news level story out of Chicago every single day last week. Like, I should be able to pull it up on where's my stupid Pages app? Because it's shared. Download the damn thing. Oh, I cut instead of copy and paste, didn't I? Oh, joy. So, like, Monday the 6th, the emergency hearing over the journalistic shit, where Block Club Chicago, Chicago Headline Club, Chicago Newspaper Guild Local 34071, the National Association of Broadcast Employees and Technicians, Communications Workers of America Local 54041, as well as a whole bunch of independent journalists, including Unraveled and the People's Fabric, who've been directly covering the Broadview detention facility. Processing facility, which, hey, reminder, means that legally they're only allowed to keep people there for 12 hours, which they're going well beyond, but whatever. Lodged an emergency... They lodged a lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security and got an emergency hearing on Monday, which the Department of Homeland Security tried to use to litigate that they get to define what a journalist is. On Tuesday, there was a ruling on a consent decree case, which is based on a 2018 and then 2022 extension of laws governing, among other things, ICE illegally trying to kidnap people back in 2018 and 2022, when they were doing it then too, specifically in Chicago, and statutes were established to make it so that ICE was not able to make the broad, warrantless arrests that they've been doing. And someone realized, hey, those are still in the books, and we re-upped them too. So, Wednesday had large-scale protests all across Chicago, specifically in response to a bunch of the shit at the Broadview detention facility. On Thursday, a temporary restraining order was issued in that journalism case that expressly blocked feds from using tear gas as well as other chemical weapons on journalists and peaceful protesters, which, yeah, it actually just said protesters, just to be clear, but... unless the feds could actually prove that they had done something, but they immediately violated that court order by tear gassing folks regularly since, including on Friday, the day afterward, where they illegally, against that order, arrested a journalist on camera. And even getting to the degree of on Sunday, yesterday, middle of the day, feds violated the restraining order by gassing protesters at Albany Park because they were trying to detain illegally one person. Or heck, the fact that, which day was that on? Oh, also on Thursday, feds indicted Miramar Martinez, the woman they shot 5 times and then claimed drove herself to the hospital. Yeah, they indicted her. Yeah, I have to do an entire second show just on Chicago shit because of this. Because I don't have any of that included in here because all of the other stuff this week was just too much. So, yeah, I just wanted to give you that sort of lead in. I'm going to cut back over to the starting screen. Then we're just going to kind of jump right in. I technically have 2 cold opens, and then we're just going to slam through the news, and I will use the recording to go throw together the hang on, just realized I can scoot over here for a slightly better angle. Then I'm going to throw together the recording up on YouTube as quickly as I can, but I also am going to be making the visuals a little bit more intentionally for the recording. Also, this way, there won't be that... If you've seen the shorts that I do that I make the videos into... Oh, that's... Okay, I can do it like that. They sometimes have a little thing here from how I have to cut to make the short work, and I just find that mildly annoying. Also, again, doing the visuals for the stream, especially since these scripts are only usually finished last night or the morning of, mildly annoying, to say the least. So, let's get started. I also have broken down my script a little bit in a way that should make it easier for me to, stop and mess with chat a little bit in between takes, so we'll see how that goes. I have high hopes, but I have high hopes for many things. Yeah. Be right back. Yep, need more water. I can feel as my mouth dries out. Sorry, chat, I don't have a picture for you for this, but, look, he has a very unfortunate hairstyle that he's very much chosen. And when I reread this line, I think you'll understand why. TikTok's new Trump-approved owner, Oracle is a tech company owned by billionaire Larry Ellison, whose son, David Ellison, is the CEO of Paramount Skydance. And in an utterly, I suppose novel is technically correct, arrangement, Bari Weiss's direct supervisor as editor-in-chief of CBS News. For context, the CBS News president, whose name I'm trying to remember how to pronounce, Tom Chabrowski, doesn't even report directly to Ellison. Hey, I just paused my teleprompter. I'm halfway through the script. I'm halfway through. This is why I didn't have time to include any Chicago stuff. Also, hey, Rototo. Also, hi, Scratching. And I think I already said hi to Nobi. I kicked Jules out of here so I could start the stream. So, yeah, this is why I'm going to have to do a second episode this week that I probably won't do the live recording or won't do the recording on stream because, like I said, I'm not kidding when I say I'm only halfway through. The rest of this is just... I also wasn't kidding about that bit about if I could figure out a dog joke about cronyism, I probably would have named this section. There's so many cronies just out doing stuff this week, and I can't call them goons because that's been ruined by association with a very different perspective. One that I don't even necessarily have an issue with, just to be clear. Look, there's nothing inherently wrong with gooning or any of that, though I am going to point out that if you're going to use the word, please use it correctly and understand that it doesn't just mean like masturbation. It very specifically refers to the practice of like edging for an extremely long period of time. It's actually kind of a common thing legitimately for trans women who are trying to get back in topics. Without testosterone, you need to do something to... This is going to be a weird pre and post show for YouTube, but whatever. If you're not aware, there's a great video, well, there's a great portion of a VOD because she got banned in the middle of it by Anna Valens that I've linked in my Discord, probably link elsewhere. I don't think I can link it on Twitch though, where she saved the VOD of her, at least the portion of the stream before she got banned, of her sex education VOD, which are allowed on Twitch, about having sex with trans women. And one of the key points is that the thing that testosterone does for the penis is specifically cause random, what are they called? What is it? Spontaneous erections, both while you're awake and aware of them. Like that's why they start happening during puberty, because that's the point of puberty, is to start making you a functional sexual being, fertile sexual being. Let's go with that. And in order to maintain usefulness, the human penis doesn't have a, what are they called? Is it a baculum? We're paradoxically one of the few mammalian species that doesn't have a bone to support our member. We instead do it with spongy tissue that needs to be flooded with blood. That spongy tissue needs to be regularly flooded with blood so that it can stretch out and maintain its shape. When you switch to an estrogen-based hormone system instead of testosterone, your body stops doing that. So if you want to use it, you have to use it. Like you have to manually encourage that because you stop having the regular autonomic maintenance that those on a testosterone-based system have. It's amusingly one of the reasons why trans men have the opposite situation where they find that I think the most acceptable term would be T-dick. They find that their T-dicks grow in size over time, partially because it's the same physical material as the glands of a penis, and it just keeps getting regular, what was the word I just said? Not erratic. It keeps getting regular random erections to maintain size and increase size since it was kind of small to start with. It's why not autonomic, it was, there's a term for the random erections that you just get that aren't necessarily inspired by the thing, by like, I've seen a hot thing, where it's just more like morning wood. But there's a word for just those that catch-all group. But yeah, it's why one of the surgeries for trans men, for instead of doing a full phalloplasty, which is to say making a penis out of existing material from elsewhere on their body, some trans men can get a mediaplasty, which is essentially just freeing their T-dick a little bit more. It's usually not a huge size, but not everyone wants a big dick, so... But yeah, there's a reason why, especially toppy trans women kind of get into gooning, because it's one of the good ways to try and maintain, since we don't get it's spontaneous erections. That's what it was. Since they don't get spontaneous erections. I'm just annoyed that it's also stolen this thing for what to call Trump goblins and their actions anymore. Like, I don't want to compare them to the incompetence of like Team Rocket, because at least then those are funny. I want to compare them to stuff like, well, quite frankly, like the putties and such from Power Rangers, and those feel better described as goons, but this is just one of my personal points. It's very silly, I know, but I just really need to let not my voice rest, but like I don't know if you can probably notice that there's a slightly different inflection when I start reading the script as opposed to talking. I assume. I can hear it. I don't know if anyone else can, but anyway, let's get back to that, which means I do need to break in my recording just so I know that like that whole section is post-show stuff and not part of the main show. It just makes my life a little bit easier in the editing process later. I have to do a whole bunch of visuals for this, so what's probably going to happen is I'm going to do a quick rundown of like some of the stories I didn't get to talk about, either because I'm going to talk about them in the second thing I'm doing this week, or because I just don't know if I'll have time or the energy to cover them. So I like talking about them with all of you all. But I am going to do a very quick thing of like a sign off for the YouTube VOD. The edited YouTube version. So let me just do that real quick. I will not be ending the stream, don't worry. Okay. That's done. See, and that's sort of the thing is, I know that I have audiences, like I have audience members across so many time zones that I'm just like, oh, I don't know where on earth to I don't know when works for anyone. So this one I just went, you know what? The pun works for like, I guess it's not even a pun. I guess it's just a wordplay. Oh, hey, yep. Welcome, Brother Nero. How you doing? You actually just missed the end of the live version of the show that I get to start editing soon. But yeah, what was I just saying? My poor dying brain. Okay, so I was trying to look into the Alex Jones thing, to be clear, because they did have a closed door discussion of his case on Friday, but they did not announce anything about it. And admittedly, his defamation case is really cut and dry. There is like no legal backing for them to take up the case, but there also wasn't a legal backing for Roe v. Wade or not Roe v. Wade, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, or the one whose name I keep forgetting that basically made it legal to discriminate against trans women. It's skis something, but I can't recall off the top of my head how it's pronounced or spelled. There's 6 Supreme Court justices who... Yes, Schimetti, thank you. Which I'm probably mispronouncing, sorry. But yeah, there are 6 Supreme Court justices out of 9 who... I'm not gonna say wouldn't make up a excuse. Frankly, a bunch of them haven't even been coming up with opinions whenever they throw out wild new interpretations, which in fact is part of why a whole bunch of lower court judges are suddenly now really doing their jobs and going, if you don't have an opinion attached to these, there's no basis for it. There's no legal precedent connected. So no, we don't have to acknowledge them. I'm sorry. So that's been a fun thing too. The Gavin Newsom one was really fun because I'm not kidding about staying up until 1 a.m. to specifically make sure that there was no news about him vetoing any of those bills, because yeah, they don't get killed just because he doesn't sign them. Some states that is the case. It depends. In California's case, very specifically, if the governor does not sign a bill within 12 days of it being presented to him, or within 30 days of the end of the legislative session, which was at midnight California last night, they just go into law when they normally would, to be clear. So I believe most of those specifically go into law January 1st, 2026, but I'd need to double check on all of them. I would once again recommend Trans News Network. They had a full write-up on all 10 of the bills that they were specifically watching, which did not include the education bill, since it wasn't necessarily protecting anyone's rights. So that was an 11th bill. That's the only one he actually vetoed of the queer-related ones. But Trans News Network has a full breakdown of like what each of the 10 bills are, which 2 have already been signed, and whether any of the others have been vetoed or any information of that sort. So highly recommend that. What else? There was one story that I didn't get to cover that maybe I'll work into the second video I have to do this week about how Dominion, the voting machine company that was dealing with a whole bunch of spurious defamation lawsuits. Well, technically, they were dealing with a bunch of spurious lawsuits and some defamation lawsuits they filed against those who filed the spurious lawsuits over election fraud in the 2020 election, has now been sold to a GOP major backer. So that's fun. I alluded to it a little bit, but I want to make it clear that, like, while the ceasefire between Israel and Palestine is maintaining, which is to say, Israel has still been bombing Palestinians, just less so, and has pulled back some of its military forces, the ridiculous land outline for what Palestine gets to keep of their own land is expressly laid out such that it gives them only the sandy coast and essentially the massive dune that rests on it. None of the actually fertile ground where they have been cultivating olive groves, among many other things, for generations, and which the Israelis, as part of their genocide in an effort to starve Palestinians, burned. It's still shit is what I'm saying, but at the very least, reportedly, Israel is not butchering Palestinians in the fucking streets right now, which they were doing. Also, yes, I wasn't kidding about the fact that last night the Palestinian government, who are technically controlled by Hamas, I will make that clear. I'm just going to also point out, hey, when the only two groups that exist within a culture are, hey, stop killing us or lay down and die, people are going to end up joining with the stop killing us and fighting back. I'm sorry, it is not inherently wrong to fight back against genocide or oppression. The ways you do so are not above critique, to be clear, either. Because yes, Hamas has legitimately done unconscionable things in an attempt to prevent and stop unconscionable things actively being done unto them as well. Saying that no one here is coming away with clean hands, but one of those sets of hands is much bloodier than the other. Let's see here. Oh, this was a really stupid one because someone predicted it before it even happened. When Bari Weiss was named as the editor-in-chief, well, okay, so when Bari Weiss's free press, I hate this. Hey, for anyone who's looking to start a right, I'm not even gonna say a right wing. For anyone who's looking to start some sort of grift mill, be it something like the Lemkin Institute, which, yes, it's like 8 people just kind of being shit goblins through a nonprofit while proclaiming to do positive work. Or if you're going to be doing something like the Free Press, stop including "the" as part of your organization's name. It makes it more annoying to discuss. And not in a, like, I won't discuss it then sort of way, but in a, you're just actively making it more annoying to talk about, which means I'm going to be more annoyed while talking about it. So Bari Weiss's journalistic outfit, the Free Press, was bought by Paramount Skydance for $150 million. It was basically a bribe to Bari Weiss because it wasn't a journalistic outfit. it just spread lies. It just spread things that it made up. I'm sorry, it's really that simple. And parachuted her into the editor-in-chief of the CBS newsroom, where, look, I'm sorry, but you don't want to immediately draw comparisons to Walter Cronkite because, among other things, he has integrity that she lacks, but there's a single hair in my glasses. There we go. But someone made the joke about, I wonder how long until The Atlantic tries to do a piece glazing her. No time. It took no time at all. October 7th. On October 7th, Caitlin Flanagan posted or published a thing to The Atlantic entitled, "Don't Bet Against Bari Weiss." Oh, it's so bad. And it's paywalled too, for no reason. And it's just trying to talk her up. And it's just like, no, this is the woman who, again, there's a Verge article that goes over just some of her journalistic malpractice because, oh goodness, let's see here. I had all these open before, but I don't know if I closed them all. I have way too many things open. Oh, I didn't do a story on this one actually, but I want to mention it very briefly. On the 10th, Kiara Watkin, the trans woman in the UK who was charged with, what did they actually charge her with? Because I don't know. I think technically sexual assault, but the trans woman who is being jailed in a male prison, again, to be raped on purpose, because that's why you put trans women in a male prison, was officially sent there on October 10th for 21 months for, and I reiterate, giving a dude a blowjob without telling him she was trans. That's all. No part of that anatomy, whether she's had bottom surgery or not, was anywhere fucking near him. But when his friends found out that he got a blowjob from a trans woman, they made fun of him. So he had her sent to jail to be raped for 21 months. If that had been a cis woman, that never would have happened, because the entire point is that how dare you hide that fact, which, yeah, that's why trans women are terrified and do not interact with cis folk, because that shouldn't be possible. That shouldn't be a thing that our systems allow to happen, to send a vulnerable woman to be raped on purpose in a male prison. But that's what happens for giving some dude a blowjob that he wanted because he regretted it later when his friends made fun of him because she was trans. Also, the extremely annoying fact that the primary story being shared around for that uses a very intentionally cruel and just kind of like silly picture of her making a goofy face from social media instead of the mugshot at the top of the fucking story. Ugh. Okay. Oh, another one I didn't get a chance to talk about, but I might try and throw into the other show later this week. After I always screw up the name for this. What is it? The Demise exemption? Also, just for the record, this is what trying to use NBC News' site looks like, where I'm trying to read the text of your damn thing. Why are you like this? Like, I literally cannot close the video that it's trying to play in the corner. There we go. What is it? I think it's the Demise exemption, but I always screw it up because I just don't remember what it is. The exemption to U.S. tariffs that specifically used to block them from affecting packages worth less than $800 that was killed back in February? When was this killed? I honestly don't recall now. That seems too long ago. When the hell? I don't remember when the exemption was shut down, and this does not include it, because why? De minimis. There we go. Ah, yes. The long-standing de minimi, sorry, because it's French, I think. It looks French. Tariff exemption for low-value packages ended on August 29th. That was it. UPS is either destroying large amounts of packages because They're just not set up to actually collect those tariffs or anything around them, or they're claiming that they were destroyed and no one knows what they're doing with them, because they also won't give a clear answer about that. They're telling people whose packages they have that they are illegally destroying them, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are, so who knows? What else? I mentioned it briefly, but there's the thing about China blocking sale of rare earth metals to the US as part of the ongoing, I'm going to charitably call them trade negotiations between the screaming baboon that runs the US government and President Xi. Oh, damn it, I knew I forgot. There was a crony I forgot. I knew there was a crony I forgot. Aw, forgot about this one. What the hell are you... Paul Ingracia, I forgot about him. I might try and record this and add it into the cronyism bit. Paul Ingracia is the White House liaison for the Department of Homeland Security, and because it's just a requirement, apparently, if you're in any way associated with the Trump administration, that you have massive credible sexual assault allegations leveled against you, and in this case, it's most simply summarized as the way Politico put, I believe, as their lead. Paul Ingracias has been investigated for allegedly harassing a lower-ranking colleague, according to administration officials. Fearing retaliation, the woman later withdrew a complaint, and Ingracia denied wrongdoing, because of fucking course he did. Yeah, it gets even more buck wild if you start looking into why, because, yeah, she submitted a complaint, then retracted it fearing repercussion, and then faced repercussions despite retracting the claim anyway, or the complaint anyway, so... damn it, I forgot about this. There's another bill that, was this one that... I think this was another one that Newsom vetoed, but I don't recall if it failed to pass, or if he vetoed it. Hang on. Find in page, yes. I can spell. No, I don't believe this one even reached Newsom. For the third year, California kills bill to help incarcerated domestic violence survivors. Essentially, California has been trying to push, a selection of Californian Democrats have been trying to push a bill that essentially offers a modicum of protection for victims of abuse who attack, kill, otherwise harm their abusers, since very few of our laws actually protect the victim. They generally are very good about protecting the abusers. Because, just here's the opening from from the Boltzmag story on this. Just before her 25th birthday, Suzanne... Oh, damn it, I need to remember to read last names first. Bustamante confided in her brother about the violent abuse she had suffered from her husband. She says her brother had protected her from her abusive father in the past, so she turned to him again after her husband threatened to hurt her family if she left him. Quote, "He told me, 'Don't worry, sis, I'll take care of it,' end quote." Bustamante said in public testimony earlier this year, "The idea that he would kill him never occurred to me." After Bustamante's brother murdered her husband, she was convicted of helping him plot the killing. During her 2-day trial, she was barred from testifying about the abuse she endured for years, which wasn't seen as relevant to her case. Anytime she tried to talk about the abuse during the trial, it was struck from the court record. She was sentenced to life without parole. Yeah, that's how we treat the victims of abuse in this country. Oh, I forgot about this one. I was actually thinking about covering this. Games Workshop is suing a fan project out of existence. Weirdly enough, at the same time that they're explicitly not suing a bunch of other projects out of existence. And I'll be quite frank, it doesn't make any damn sense to me, because the argument is that essentially it looks like he was creating and selling 40K models, which creating and selling fan 40K models is not necessarily illegal. It's sort of a weird space, but they didn't take down most shops or even go after most shops doing that. But this one in particular, they did. And quite frankly, none of his models look like the original 40K ones. I would say many of them look better, personally, and I suspect at least some of it had to do with the fact that he's not charging the utterly exorbitant fees that that Games Workshop charges. So, but that's a thing. I also was thinking about including, there was a story out of, it was either Ars Technica or Rutgers, and I don't recall which, who, I don't know why on earth they connected with Cards Against Humanity for this. Okay, actually I do, because Cards Against Humanity just made a one of their like yearly-ish terrible jokes, like joke product things, and very notably had some bit in it about how they needed to produce it elsewhere because there's no manufacturing really done here in the US. This is one of those weird things where I wanted to talk about it not because of the story itself, but because, one, I think folks forget that Cards Against Humanity, the company, is awful, and there's a reason why they try to stay out of the news now. Like, I know people who worked there. It was a racist and queerphobic hellspace. Like, I know one dude who worked there who... he has incredibly thick skin and will put up with damn near anything, which is why he actually seems to keep trying to not work for them ever again, but like, he's still friendly with them because he works in the board game space, but mostly just in the I'm curious how fucked it is now sort of way. So half the time when I see this person at cons or things, and he'll point out the Cards Against Humanity folks and go like, it's so weird that like these are the folks that they're trying to talk with. It's just like, these are all people that they know won't interact with them because they know their history and all of their baggage and crap. But like, they won't come over and talk with me, despite the fact that I've made it clear I'm not moved past any of their crap, but will at least have a conversation with them and not just turn around and walk away. But the other thing being, I'm apparently cooked in the board game dev space enough, which I forget that I am by virtue of being friends with a lot of folks in that space, that certain things that I expect everyone just kind of knows aren't always things that everyone just kind of knows. Like how most board game stuff, yeah, you can't just get it made in the US because the manufacturing facilities don't exist. You can't find like, hey, will you make these plastic molds? Or, hey, I've even already designed the mold. Can you make these at scale? Like those factories and organizations just don't exist in the US. So you have to use, especially Chinese production, because that's what their economy is. Like they are one of the largest exporters on the planet because they have an economy built around creating the treats for everyone else and themselves. So, and it was weird to see that kind of break the board game space containment and make it into a little bit more mainstream news that made me want to talk about it, because that's a thing that board game folks and like Rascal News, if you want a good source for like general purpose board game news, Rascal News is not bad, have been covering since Trump announced his intentions to do tariffs as an economic plan, which, look, there's a reason why no one's done tariffs in decades if they can help it. They suck. They're awful. All they do is harm a globalized economy and try and create an isolationist economy, which doesn't work, especially if you're primarily an import-based economy like the US. What else? I feel like there were a couple others. That doesn't surprise me. Remember, there was a big thing a few years ago about Games Workshop and fan content. TTRPG channel you followed stopped running 40K TTRPG streams because of it. I feel like that happens every couple of years because they go on weird runs about stuff. This one's just odd because it was specifically directed at one fan-run store, while leaving a bunch of other stores, like while actively contacting a bunch of other stores just to do like, hey, can you take down this specific model, or don't specifically say 40K or things like that. But with this one particular store, they went straight to, nah, burn it to the fucking ground. Like dude even responded to them going, what was it? There was a Gamak, Ghamak, According to Gamek, they tried to meet Games Workshop halfway, offering to remove or heavily modify more than 30% of their existing catalog to avoid a drawn-out fight. But even after those offers, Gamek says Games Workshop went quiet and never responded to their attempts to resolve things amicably. Oh yeah, so many things about like Games Workshop and the way that they handle a lot of their stuff is so screwy because they do bizarre things like we have a full store catalog, but you have to go to the physical store to order from the catalog so that they'll order it shipped to them and then you pick it up there. They were still running that. I think they are still running it that way. Plus, they also did that weird thing a couple years ago where they used to have the shops were actually called Games Workshop, and now all of their shops are called Warhammer. Wait, hang on. You don't even call 40K Warhammer most of the time. You call it 40K. You also still run like 2 other big TTRPGs because they also run Lord of the Rings, right? Okay, they did when I was paying attention to them, but I feel like they still do. And I think they have another one, but I don't recall the name of it. Or I guess not TTRPG, because they're not role-playing games. Tabletop Squad Tactics? I don't even know what to call it. I have Kill Team boxes that Yalk gifted me that I need to assemble at some point and are going to be a stream, but I'm also down one because I gave one of them to my ex who never fucking built it. So that's fun and sucky, but whatever. Let's see. I feel like there was at least one other... Yeah, that's the thing about the Dominion Voting Company. Oh, right. This was another stupid one. On October 8th, Logitech announced that it was going to be bricking all of their Pop smart home buttons, which were $100 like Wi-Fi enabled buttons that you could just stick to the wall, and through their app could connect to different smart home devices and such to make them work, like to activate them without necessarily needing to go get your phone or whatever. So you could... It was smart home shenanigans, like the Philips Hue or other lighting setups. Or didn't Samsung just do something incredibly absurd with a TV in a fridge with ads or something that still costs the same as a fridge costed? Actually, arguably a little bit more than a fridge costed a couple of years ago. So yeah, they're killing those on October 15th with no workaround for them. What else? I'm actually still scrolling through the story trying to remember if there was any other like element to it, but... Oh, right. Yes, there was. This is from the Ars Technica article about this. Overall, Logitech appears less committed to smart homes than when it eagerly joined the smart home hype of the 2000s, including by acquiring the company originally behind Harmony Remotes, Intrigue, for $29 million in 2004. Logitech CEO Hanke Haneke Faber suggested that the company was moving away from its Circle series of smart doorbells, telling The Verge last year that she was, quote, not even sure those are still being sold. Logitech quickly backpedaled from Faber's comments, and a couple of Circle products are currently listed on Logitech's website. One is temporarily out of stock as of this writing. This was 3 days ago? 7 days? 6 days ago. 6 days ago? Math. I'm bad at math. 7 days ago. However, the executive's comments don't instill confidence in the longevity of Logitech's smart home lineup, which hasn't seen a product launch since 2020. Amazon smart screens now serve ads that have made one Redditor say they're going back to Google. Okay, like, this TV is an Amazon Fire TV, and yeah, I fucking regret that, but... At the time, and it still kind of was cheaper to get Fire TVs than a non-smart TV with a like Roku or other streaming device plugged in. And I personally still remember there was an issue that Roku's had at the release of Sword and Shield, I believe it was, where it was discovered that Rokus were actively doing some sort of weird shenanigan in the background all the time, and that it was like constantly trying to ping your Wi-Fi router with some specific port information. I don't recall what it all was off the top of my head. And it turned out that was also the one that Sword and Shield were trying to use whenever you tried to activate the online services, or like online portions of Sword and Shield. So if you had a Roku device, you had to unplug it while trying to use that until a firmware update eventually came out. Why I remember that, okay, I do actually know why I remember that, and it's kind of annoying because I dealt with it personally, but it was so dumb. Smart home struggles. We used to have a Nest thermostat, which Google depreciated and doesn't support anymore. It was here when we bought the house. So when our air conditioning crapped out and needed to be replaced, they also replaced our thermostat with a new different one that is still a smart thermostat, but at the very least has slightly more controls on it that don't require a phone app, but do kind of require Wi-Fi, which is still fairly annoying. The real downside of it is mostly that I still have Nest like sensor. I don't remember what the fuck they were called, but they were like the little white sensor things that if you had a Nest, you could place them in other rooms so that it would get different temperature readings based on the whole house instead of just the room that had the thermostat in it. And those fuckers were like $99 a pop, or I think I got all three of them for $99. It was something like that. Either way, it was a huge pain in the ass. And now they're useless, at least for me. Again, I might try and work this one in, but I'm not sure. One, there were actually two stories out of Alaska that are mostly not shit. Okay, one of them is shit happening, but judge declaring it illegal so improvement can be made, which was federal judge says Alaska's treatment of transgender inmate violate U.S. Constitution. Ruling followed a precedent that gender-affirming surgery, hey, look, stop calling it shit like that. It's just healthcare. It is trans healthcare, if you want to be really specific, but it's healthcare. You don't need to clarify what the hell it is. It's healthcare. That trans healthcare can be medically necessary for transgender people in Alaskan prisons, which, the Alaskan state government was trying to block that. The other thing being that the second largest city in Alaska, so Anchorage, I believe, being the first, and I'm trying to remember the name of the second, just elected an openly, aggressively Democrat mayor. Oh, also, I that's one I need to include, too, for a hopeful thing. Mamdani's video specifically calling out and celebrating trans activists in New York's history, which, holy shit, it's weird to see a politician do that in ever? Much less a cis dude. Yeah, it was Sylvia Rivera, and didn't he also specifically call out Marsha Johnson? Marsha Johnson? See, this is the problem in why I script things, is so that I make sure that I don't fuck up names. Because there was a thing last week or 2 weeks ago where I kept saying John. Yeah, I know the video was explicitly about Sylvia, but yeah, I knew that at least two activists were mentioned in it. I just couldn't remember if it was Johnson or if it's just that Johnson gets included in kind of everything because she's more well known. It's Tom Homan? Human? What the fuck is his name? Not Holland. Yeah, Tom Homan. What the hell is your actual job title, you menace? Oh, right. I forgot that his job title is mostly unofficial, or not mostly unofficial. His job title is a thing just kind of made up. He's the border czar. The thing about him taking a bribe back in 2024, where I kept saying I couldn't remember if his name was Tom or John. So that's why I script things, because I'm bad at remembering names, just in general. Ooh, though I will point out, one thing that I kind of want to include in this is that George Stephanopoulos fucking called him out, or called JD Vance out on it. I want to see if there's a really good, there's a really good skeet for it that someone did that was just the perfect breakdown of the quote, because it was literally JD Vance getting asked, did he take a bribe, and him trying to deflect into a wild thing. Hang on. I just realized I can, cool. I misspelled Stephanopoulos' name, didn't I? Yes, I did. Oh, because there's an A in it. Oh, no, because I did... I see. Oh, right, it was an Aaron Ruper thing. JD Vance, on an interview with George Stephanopoulos, when asked directly, did Tom Homan take a $50,000 bribe that the FBI caught and then did not follow up on, yes or no. He tried to deflect and say, insinuate that, I'm sure he's been paid more than $50,000 at some point. And Stephanopoulos said, I didn't insinuate anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan accepted $50,000 as head of an audio tape, or as was heard on an audio tape recorded by the FBI in September 2024. You did not answer the question. Thank you for your time. Vance, no, George, I said Stephanopoulos will be right back, and cut the fucking feed. Thank you. You can just do that. You should just do that. Holy fuck. Oh, it makes me so happy, but it never happens anymore. It's so strange. Another one also from Aaron Ruper, who I love that he does these, but it's also one of the more annoying things to hunt down on Blue Sky. Stephanopoulos, did Tom Homan give the $50,000 back? This was, to be clear, before he cut off the interview. Vance, he did not take a bribe. It's a ridiculous smear. Stephanopoulos, you didn't answer the question. Vance, did he accept $50,000? I'm sure that in the course of Homan's life, he's been paid more than $50,000 for services. So no, he did not. Yeah, holy shit, yeah, you can just go, no, you didn't answer the question. It's the same reason why I wanted to cover the Bari Weiss thing, or not Bari Weiss, Pamela Bondi in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, because, yeah, it's a really fucked up precedent to establish that, no, not only do I not see Congress as legitimate source of power or my bosses, which, yeah, they are, I'm sorry, but if you're an unelected official, Congress is your boss too. But that didn't even pretend to prepare to answer questions, just came prepared to attack the committee members. Admittedly, yeah, a bunch of those attacks were true, but that's neither here nor there. The point was that the committee was trying to investigate why the Epstein files, despite originally being called for wide opening by the Trump administration, well, I guess the Trump campaign, are now being shuttered, hidden, and lied about now that, they have direct control and access of them. Anyway, I know there was at least one other thing. I didn't get to cover it 2 weeks ago, and I'm still annoyed about it, about how the Apple Store banned the IceBlock app and a second app called Eyes Up that specifically archived just videos of ICE's abuse. Because there was a second, who was it? There was a second story out of somewhere about how Apple essentially quietly made ICE agents a protected class, while Meta has stripped almost all protections from trans and queer folks, and Apple has gone along with that as well. So, who, are an actually protected class. Because as a reminder, the way the protected classes work is that they're things like your race, your gender, being discriminated against for your sexual, I'm trying to think of the word, alignment? No, your sexuality. They do not cover things like your political views, because those are things that you can change and alter. Orientation, that's the word I was thinking of, thank you. It also doesn't cover the job you do, because no, just following orders, be they legal or not, is not an excuse, especially if you're taking a paycheck for it. Those are expressly things people can 100% judge and make you face consequences for. It's the same thing as, no, you don't have to stop connecting with, say, J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series. However, people are more than within their rights to make judgments based upon your connection and willingness to associate with that material. That's just the consequences of your action. Someone on YouTube made this really funny comment that I don't think they thought was very smart and biting at me, but to me was just, you've wildly misunderstood how this works, where I refer to the Health and Human Services Secretary as Brainworm Bobby Jr. because he intentionally uses his full name, which then he wants shortened because not wants shortened. He wants news agencies to shorten it because it's long and annoying to say Robert, what the hell is, I don't remember what his middle name is. It's the F one, but Robert something Kennedy Jr. because one, its association with the other RFK. Two, because that way, when his name is shrunk down, it's also just RFK Jr. Like, it's a way to get him more credibility, which is why I personally refuse to call him that and go with Brainworm Bobby, because yes, I'm sorry, but getting a brainworm in this day and age is quite literally only doable through your own actions. Like, I cannot describe how difficult it actually is to catch a literal brainworm, because I need to make it clear, that's not a joke. He has a brainworm. It died in his skull from mercury poisoning. It's still there because there's no system for removing things from the human brain in the same way as, like, if you get a splinter or even like something in most of the rest of your body, it can form sort of a cyst around it or actually just start to break it down depending on the material that it's made out of. That doesn't really exist in the brain because our brains are kept very sectioned from the rest of our bodies. That's why meningitis is such a scary disease, because it crosses the blood-brain barrier. Notably, listeria, one of the 6 diseases the CDC no longer, 6 foodborne diseases the CDC no longer tracks, causes meningitis. Anyway, and their comment was something about, like, you're trying to accuse me of bigotry because I was referring to Bobby as Brainworm Bobby in the face of his open bigotry and eugenics over the whole Tylenol, the brand name for acetaminophen, which I'm still amazed they haven't been sued yet. Not Tylenol, but like the U.S. government for wildly defaming slander specifically because they said it out loud. A major business, which I'm amazed that they haven't been sued yet. It's ridiculous. That is bigotry, because no, you can't control that you have autism. You can't do anything about it. And it also, frankly, doesn't matter unless you see autistic people existing as a problem, which is eugenics. But no, I'm not bigoted for expressing that the man who somehow managed to not only catch a brainworm, but have it die in his skull is dealing with the consequences of his own actions. Those are one of the few things you can make fun of someone for. It's why I try not to ever make fun of someone's appearance, except for things that they are able to directly control. Their clothing choices, and even then, only if they have the money to make better and, tailored choices, like Trump's whole thing with the weird oversized ties and shit and the clothing that just doesn't actually fit him. Or Barron with his, I'm sorry, it looks like Hitler's like slicked back, greased up hair. I don't know what you want from me. He did it to himself. He has like mostly normal hair otherwise. He did it on purpose. The weirdest part about that too is that for some reason, okay, I know what the reason is, but it's stupid and I don't like to think about it too much. A lot of the coverage of Barron is very focused on the fact that he's tall. That sounds like a joke, but for some reason, the lead of most stories about Barron Trump is about how tall he is. Because he's like, I think it was like 6'7", which, like, yeah, sure, that's weird compared to his dad, but why does it matter? That one's just throwing me off because it occurred like 8 different times. I don't know if there were any other stories. There's all the Chicago stuff that, like I said, I want to go into its own thing. And I do have some hopeful things attached to that, too. Oh, I keep forgetting about I wanted to include this somehow in the Bari Weiss thing, but apparently one of the first things she said upon entering the CBS newsroom floor was "let's do the fucking news," she declared, adding that she was excited for the CBS news staff to get to know the free press. I love, if you haven't seen any of the stuff about CBS News folks talking about this, I really do recommend that Verge article. It's great, but this is, from The Independent, written by, what was your name? Justin Baragona. Weiss's Sorkin-esque call to journalistic arms, which seems to paraphrase the critically polarizing series The Newsroom, prompted some staffer to literally roll their eyes in response. It also, I don't believe they mention it here, but it paradoxically encouraged The Newsroom to both focus on the traditions of journalism while also making it very clear that she intended to shove generative AI into every single thing they do. Maybe even an AI bias monitor, which is one of those like, no, those don't work. What? I had that line about Azathoth Ex Machina, and I think that's just what I'm going to call them from now on, because I wrote it in an essay that I was writing, and I just went, oh, that's such a good thing to call these stupid, utterly evil tech godheads. So I'm just going to keep going with it because I like comparing them to an angry housebound racist. I will note, for anyone who's not aware of H.P. Lovecraft in general, yes, obviously, dude was wildly anti-Semitic and incredibly racist. However, reportedly, and this is not in his defense, this is just because I think we should be clear about people's history. Reportedly, as he grew older, that did depreciate somewhat. Specifically his homophobia, which was real bad, in an interestingly screwy way, because until late in his life, he actually didn't know that homosexuality existed, but when he learned about it, immediately compared it to pederasty, which I'm not going to explain on Twitch, because it's just to suffice to say, pederasty is not necessarily the same as pedophilia, but it's not dissimilar. It's more specific. It's also a slightly older term with a more narrow range, let's say. Either way, when Lovecraft first learned that homosexuality was a thing, he compared it immediately to pederasty. Reportedly, near the end of his life, especially once gay men he was friends with went, dude, I'm gay, he came around a lot. Too little, too late, and it doesn't really undo any of the racist stereotypes or homophobic stereotypes or overt anti-Semitism in a lot of his work, but very minor thing of he did eventually reportedly improve. And I don't know, I think it's important to give people the chance to do so. And I know personally, I'm not always the best at that because, look, after someone hurts me personally, I'm not always the best about... That's a lie, actually. When someone hurts me personally, I'm really good about letting them back into my life because have limited self-value. Don't worry. Self-worth, that's the word. But when they hurt someone that I care about, then I stop ever giving them the benefit of that doubt again. But I do try and maintain that we should try and give people the chance to, quite frankly, either improve as people or reveal their bigotry. So, but yeah, Weiss's Sorkin-esque call to journalistic arms, which seemed to paraphrase the newsroom, prompted some staffers to literally roll their eyes in response, according to multiple sources on the Tuesday morning call. Quote, "I'm not joking," a CBS News employee stated. She actually said that. The same employee added that there were, quote, eye rolls for sure, end quote, and that Weiss was, quote, cosplaying as a broadcast journalist, end quote. Another reporter, meanwhile, described Weiss's remarks as, quote, cringy movie references and a half-assed pep talk. Hey, Independent, you don't need to censor the word ass. Like, even YouTube and Twitch don't yell at me for ass, but, half-assed pep talk about, end quote, about winning and doing, quote, the fucking news, end quote. The Independent has reached out to CBS News and Weiss for comment. The sarcastic reaction from some CBS journalists to Weiss's first full proclamation to the newsroom isn't entirely unexpected, considering that much of the staff had not only expressed trepidation over her impending arrival, but were, quote, literally freaking out. That is a link to another, I believe, Independent article where newsroom staff were quoted as saying that. Over the wholesale changes, new Paramount owner David Ellison, which, yeah, by the way, he just bought into it too. That's also part of why Paramount bought Skydance, which again is a massive merger that should normally have elements of antitrust concerns, the FCC stepping in to like mitigate or at the very least look at how the merger is going forward. But no, this immediately then after buying Skydance, they also announced their intent to buy all of WB, who backpedaled on their previous plans to spin off elements of WB into their own distinct things. I'm sorry, before I forget, I just remembered one thing that I forgot to bring up specifically about the like board game space, and now I've forgotten it again. I had it for a second. Shit. I had it for like 2 seconds and immediately dropped out of my brain. I love ADHD. Owner David Ellison has been implementing at the Tiffany Network. It's not a good place now. One staffer told The Independent last week there was a proper way to do this and a not proper way, and they're doing it the non-proper way. And maybe that's by design. Look, if you're a journalist working at CBS and you're still couching your language in that kind of protective phrasing, you should probably look for another job, because that's not going to go great for you, but hey. Weiss, who considers herself a radical centrist, she's a right-wing, to be clear, Bari Weiss is, I don't know if she's lesbian or bi, she's married to a woman, but she claims to be a left-leaning centrist because of her perspective on pro-gay marriage and so she phrases it as pro-choice, the coward's way of saying pro-abortion. I will point out that neither of those is left of center anymore. I cut this from the script too, because I didn't know if I could get the graphics for it in time, but gay marriage and abortion are both the majority opinion in the United States. Not even the majority left opinion. They are the majority opinion. Those are quite literally centrist policies now. However, Weiss is a raving transphobe and a raving Zionist. She is not a one could argue she's a centrist because centrist is basically the word for I'm conservative who doesn't want to acknowledge that I'm conservative, because that's what it's always meant, but she is not in any way left-leaning. She is a pick-me queer of some variety. I don't want to speculate on trying to remember if she's a lesbian or bi. I went with lesbian for the script just because it's funnier that way, and because her relationship with her wife is sapphic, so bite me. But she's convinced that she's not a dyed-in-the-wool MAGA goblin, but she's a dyed-in-the-wool MAGA goblin, so considers herself a radical centrist known for stridently pro-Israel stance. Is likely to face a tough time gaining respect in the newsroom, as many view her as a political operative with no real experience in broadcast journalism, because she has none, literally none. Her only journalistic experience is as an op-ed writer for the New York Times, who will apparently let anyone write op-eds, or at least anyone conservative, with no editorial oversight, because I still remember that bit too, and running her own text-based, mostly, journalistic outfit of the Free Press that, again, just made up lies about George Floyd as its only well-known story, because almost everything else that it covered was just such a nothing burger that no one even paid attention to it. I don't even remember half of them personally. On top of that, as sources told The Independent, CBS News is already, quote, not welcoming for outsiders, noting that, quote, the idea that somebody that we don't want is going to come in here and somehow manage to survive this is, I think, laughable, end quote. Which what is with people in making awkwardly phrased statements? There's a trick that I personally was taught, again, because my father was a reporter. I know that I bring him up a lot, but to be clear, he was a shit-ass dad, but unfortunately he's just sort of a defining feature of my journalistic experience and my acting experience, where one of the first words you can almost always cut from any sentence, because the point of good writing is almost always to say things in as few words as clearly as possible. This accounts for both journalism, nonfiction, fiction, what have you. The most important thing is to communicate your ideas clearly. And sometimes, yes, that means using more words works better, especially if you're trying to convey in like fiction, a character who's having trouble phrasing their thoughts or communicating ideas, that sort of thing. If you're a journalist talking to another journalist, one of the first words you can cut out of damn near any sentence is that. So if, say, in a dozen-word sentence you use it 3 times, you can probably get away with some editing there, or I guess since this was spoken, think a little bit more before you start the sentence. This is an ADHD goblin saying that. I don't feel like that one's that hard. Elsewhere on the Tuesday morning call, CBS News President Tom Jabrowski also attempted to hype up Weiss to the staff, saying that her, quote, energy and passion is infectious, and you will feel it big time, end quote. Jabrowski added that CBS News and the Free Press are going to, quote, are going to learn a lot from each other, end quote, which is, quote, what this is all about, end quote. No, it's not! You're journalists! The point is to report the news, to investigate what's happening in the world, to convey to people what their governments, what businesses are doing, so that we can make informed choices about them. It is not to learn things about each other. Oh my God. And we wonder why mainstream broadcast journalism is dying. I would argue it's probably technically dead. It just hasn't realized it yet. Jabrowski's comment seemed to echo much of what Ellison stated when he introduced Weiss as the editor-in-chief in a lengthy email on Monday. Quote, I've seen the Bari who you will get to know, a person of incredible energy, judgment, and perception for what will resonate with audiences. That's just not fucking true. End quote, Ellison wrote. Quote, working alongside our exceptionally talented colleagues at CBS News, she will help ensure that our reporting remains relevant, accessible, and, most importantly, trusted in this new era of American media. Again, the only people watching CBS News are baby boomers and some Gen Xers who hate Fox News. They don't want this. Again, they're the people who are quite literally registering for No Kings protests next week. I guess actually that might be this week now that I think about it. Yeah, because it's on what, the 17th in 4 days? Yeah. Oh my God. Like, let's be honest. Millennials, Zoomers, and Gen Alpha are either hiding from the news because it's all depressing and sucky, or they're getting their news from folks like me, or Substackers, or... I mean, please don't get your news from Substackers, or at the very least, pick good ones and then convince them to get off the site that hosts Nazis and literally sent a push notification to every user like a month ago that literally had a swastika in the notification. But, Anyway, this went way too long because now I need to go do images and shit. I hope you all had a fun time because that was ridiculous. I did not mean for the post show to go anywhere near that long. Let me see if there's anyone I can throw you to. I mean, there definitely is. I just don't... Oh, Kylie just went live. Cool. What in the blue hell is Kylie? Well, maybe not just went live, but Kylie is live, but I don't know what on earth she's doing. Oh, it's Phantasy Star. Okay, it looked so I have a Stream Deck and can see this like very tiny window of a thing and looked at it and went, that looks like a bunch of Boutmons. Is that Digimon? Wait, no, Boutmon isn't in the new Digimon game. So yeah, I'm gonna actually, I'll throw you all over to Kylie. It just occurred to me, I feel like Kylie uses she and something else as a pronoun, but I don't remember what the other one was. Nope, just she, her. Kylie Neko is VTubing and playing, Phantasy Star 3. So I'm gonna throw you all over there and go work on all this dumb crap. As a reminder, again, this stream and everything that I do is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you very much to April, Fragile Paper, Manfred, Pinball Witch, Pimento, and Yalk. I literally could not do this without your support over on patreon.com/fen and or coffee.com/fen. I will see you all hopefully pretty soon. I feel like there's something else I'm forgetting, but that was a concerning noise from outside. I'll go check on that. Have a good day, night, whatever time zone it is for you all, and yeah, bye. Oh, and join the Discord if you're not already in it, because the voting for the movie night will close in math 7-ish hours.